Hey guys, welcome back to Forever Bloom. So today is Mother's Day 2022. It's windy, it's cold, a little nasty out, but I got the bug and I really want to plant my new boxwoods that I have planned to go along the edge here of the inside border. Let me see if I can do it that way. And the reason that I wanted to do that is because all of the things that you see here, except for that heather plant there, is deciduous, which means that it goes and dives back into the ground in the wintertime. And so there's nothing aside from the trellises here that you see. Hold on. See? That's it. That's all we have. So, and that boxwood here in the pot is temporary. It's a little swirly boxwood that I bought for real cheap. And so I thought maybe adding some evergreen interest would be good. Also, this particular boxwood is called North Star Boxwood. It's by Proven Winners, and it's supposed to stay fairly small. So just to give you an idea of the specs for this particular plant, it works in sun, part shade or shade. It's zone 5 through 9, and it gets about 2 to 2.5 feet tall and wide, and spacing is 2 to 4 feet. It works in moist, well-drained soil, and you prune it in the summer. And it's low growing, obviously. And I wanted something like that because, as you can see, I have here clematis flowering plant that is already reaching like to the top of this trellis here, which is like 10 feet tall. And then I have here climbing roses that I always have to physically fix to the trellis. And so I need to be able to prune on these, take care of them, treat whatever bug issue I'm having going on. And if I'm gonna have a hedge of plants here, they can't be this tall, right? They have to be something that I can train to be fairly small, where I can sort of reach over and do one of these and take care of whatever I have to take care of here. And this used to be a really thin walkway that was like right here. It was all that area close to the garage, the wall. It was a thin walkway. It was like 18 inches maybe, and it was straight, and it looks really old. It was there when we bought the house a few years back, but we got new cement laid, and I'm so excited to fill it up with pretty things. So if this plant is supposed to be 2 to 4 feet, I'm guessing it'll stay on the smaller size of that, because I've seen a lot of information online about this plant. It seems to be that although they can theoretically reach that larger end of it, they tend to stay smaller, and you can train them to stay smaller. So I'm struggling with trying to figure out how far away to put them and plant them so that they can grow to their full potential and actually touch, because I do want this to be not just like little dollops of evergreens. I want it to grow into a hedge, like a full, there's nothing there for you, it's just the boxwood. Okay, sorry. Yeah, so I'm struggling with trying to figure out how far to put them so that they touch and grow together and become like one unified like wall, little hedge on the edge of the sidewalk here. And I think what I'm probably gonna do, I have 11 of them. I can order more if I need to. And this area is probably like maybe 17 feet that I need to cover, or 15 feet. Probably closer to 15. Because I can't do it all the way down to the edge, because there's a door that needs to be able to swing open there. So I can't do it all the way down, but I'll fiddle with it. You'll see me fiddling with it, and then I'll come back and let you know what I kind of decided on. Okay, so here is a very important plant. It's a peony plant that came from my daughter's great grandmother and was passed down until it finally made it into my hands, the hands of my daughter. And they gave it to us for safekeeping. And so that needs to stay. I want to be able to see that. I see that all the time when I go to my car. Again, this area is next to my driveway, so I get to admire it when it's blooming, which unfortunately, because it's a peony, is not very long. Well, yeah, I'm probably gonna need more plants than this, but this is a good start. They're only about 12 inches apart, though. I could probably stretch it more than that. but it'll probably take them a real long time if I put them much further than that, because they're slow growing boxwoods apparently. And I don't see these in store, guys, at least not in my area, which is South Jersey, Zone 7A. I just don't see these, so I had to order them online. And so I couldn't really have the benefit of asking someone who knows how these plants grow in South Jersey, like how many I might need. I could probably get one here, another one here, here, here. So like 4 or 5, I could probably use 4 or 5 more. So I found a measuring tape, and I probably should have just like cut a piece of wood to the size that I thought. I should do that because it's probably quicker, but I'm not gonna do that because, yeah, I don't have the time. I wanna plant these very badly. If it's gonna grow about 2.5 feet, I probably wanna space them slightly over a foot so that they can grow together. I'm gonna say maybe around the 14-inch mark. All right, so this one I put close to the wall. Closer because there's not gonna be another one on that end to meet it. So I put it closer to the wall here, the foundation, so that it can have an easier time filling that little gap on that side. So from here to here, I put maybe about 14 inches. And then from the base, like that leader underneath here, to the sidewalk here, 7 inches. So now I have to space this one 14 inches from this one, and then make sure that this one is 7 inches from the walkway. Okay, so from here, 14 inches is here. So I know I'm gonna have to scoot this over from the middle of that one. You don't wanna measure like from the other far end on this side. You wanna measure from the center so that you have a good reference point. And then from the center to the middle, this one has to, this one's actually kind of on point. Okay, next one. Same thing here, guys. So from the center of this one, so 14 inches puts you right around here. And then from the center, this one has to go in a little bit. And another thing to keep in mind is that it's hard to eyeball it when you have a curved sidewalk. I feel like I could just, maybe I might be brave enough to eyeball this if it was straight, because I could kind of just tell. Or I could do 2 posts on the edge of the sidewalk from there to there, and then just like put a string in between and make it work. But it's curved, so it's hard to eyeball something like this. So I have this auger. It's really long, but as you can see, it's only like 3 inches, and these are like 4.5-inch cans. But what I do with this, I have another one and I can't find it, and it's a little bit bigger than this. But what I do with these when I have a bigger hole than what the auger size that I have is when it's auging like this, I just kind of wiggle it, or I dig multiple holes like right next to each other, and it makes for good work, especially these tall ones, because you don't have to bend down as much. It's a little bit easier work, and if you have good soil, these ones, this one is like a cheaper one that I bought, and sometimes it comes loose because the bit isn't really made well. I have a great drill, but the bit isn't really made all that well. But if you have good enough soil, and if it's not a huge can where you have to dig a big hole, they work. They work. They do the job. So I'm gonna try it. Let's see. So the can for this one, I'm gonna try to make sure I keep it center. It's right around here. So, oh, too strong. It works, but maybe a little bit too much. All right. Oh, holy moly. Maybe I need to turn it down. I don't know how to turn it down. Let's see. Maybe that's what I need. It kind of sends the soil everywhere, And if it's doing that, maybe the soil is just good enough for me to just use a hand trowel. One of the benefits of using the auger is it also makes the soil like super fluffy. If you have a little bit of clumpiness, like I sometimes do, well, always do, maybe not in this area, but pretty much everywhere else, it makes it nice and fluffy. And this is how it looks. Some of the soil will come out. There's some surface roots showing here. I got these from Great Garden Plants for a really good deal, and they look pretty healthy, and they have a good root system, and they don't look like rotted out or super dry. Now, I sometimes use perlite in areas that are problematic. You don't have to, you could just use compost. But this particular area, like I said, some of it was underneath a walkway that presumably was there when the property was built, which was in the 1970s, my house was built. So it's compacted because it's been underneath a walkway, a cement walkway for 50 years. That'll help it out, I figured. Ooh, rocks and cement. This is the old walkway. First one in, I'm gonna try the hand trowel for the next one. Oh yeah, this is easy enough for the hand trowel. Look at that. It's pretty nice. So if I'm gonna do soil improver, fertilizer, and perlite for each one of these holes, it doesn't make very much sense for me to do it one at a time. So I'm just gonna pre-mix it all. So right now in New Jersey, this type of soil improver is very popular. It's Bumper Crop is the name of the brand. I think Outmaster Nursery Bumper Crop is the name of the product. And it helps me a lot. When I don't use this, I often use the Espoma. So in here, put some Biotone in here. Now the Biotone starter fertilizer, whew, dusty. If you've never heard of it, it's just a starter fertilizer. It helps with root development. So this is good for when you have transplants, stuff like that. So I'm just gonna automatically mix that in. I have some earthworm castings here, so mix that in. So I did want to provide you guys with some information because I did do research on how to plant a boxwood hedge. I do have experience with boxwoods. I have boxwoods on my property, a lot of them, but I've never done them in the form of a hedge. So I did a lot of research that I was hoping to share with you today. So first you want to find a spot that gets full sun or part shade, all the way down to part shade. Boxwoods are actually kind of versatile and they adjust to many light requirements. Although I do imagine that it would struggle in full to very deep shade. So the first step, if you're going to put in a boxwood hedge, is if you have grass, remove the grass because you don't want anything soaking up the energy, water, competing for resources with your boxwoods. And you also just want it to look nice when you put it in, right? So some people, after they remove the sod or they have an area in mind, they amend the soil in the entire area that they're planting. Like if they're making a whole new garden bed. So they amend the entire thing instead of just the hole where they're digging. I might recommend this if the area was never a garden bed before, and if you're converting it into a garden bed and it never was one before. Mine was a garden bed already that I had already amended, and that's why I didn't do the entire area, but I did have some areas that were compacted, so I amended only the holes where I was digging and planting as needed. That was kind of the middle ground that I agreed on.
If you're planting boxwoods in a straight line, you kind of have it easy because you can use the method that a lot of people use where you get 2 stakes, you place the stakes in the soil, one at each side of the line that you want to make, and you tie a piece of twine or string between the 2 markers to basically make a straight line with the twine. Then you can use a marking spray paint meant for landscaping to measure out where the center of each boxwood will go. So you like spray a little dot everywhere you want a boxwood, and you would measure from the center of the plant until the center of the next plant. That's what it means to plant on center. And there are different types of boxwoods. They all reach different sizes and shapes. So you won't necessarily be following my spacing guidelines. If you have a boxwood that wants to grow really huge, for example, you might want to space them further apart than I did in this video. There's one thing that I would have done differently this next time if I do this again is I didn't use the landscaping spray paint that I was mentioning. I have 2 kids and a full-time job, and I just did not have the time to go buy some at the store, so I just did it as I went along, and it definitely took longer, so I would do that differently next time. I could not use the string even if I wanted to in my garden because this particular area, the sidewalk is curved, and I wanted the boxwoods to follow that curve, so using the string really wouldn't have helped me, except maybe for the edge, but I was kind of already on a roll. Now, when you plant your boxwood, you want them to sit slightly higher than the current soil level, maybe like 1 inch, because the soil that you're amending with and you're putting back in will eventually settle, and you don't want the base of the plant to be under the soil level to where all the water, whether rain or if you water it, it's all going to run down into the root ball and potentially rot out your plant. You want to tap in the soil in and around the root ball lightly. You're not trying to jam as much soil as you can in there and jam pack it, but what you're wanting to do is make sure that there aren't any huge air pockets in those areas. But that's also why you want to water right after planting a boxwood to make sure that all the sides of the root ball make contact with your soil. I personally wait a day or 2 before mulching because I want to see where the soil has settled or where it maybe has slothed off the root ball so that I can fix it before I mulch over it. Because if you mulch it and then the soil kind of comes down off it or something like that, you can't really see it because it's mulch. But some people, they're really disciplined about mulching right away, and that's fine too. But if I'm going to elevate the boxwood and then put the soil up to the soil level of where the boxwood is, I find in an area like mine, like New Jersey, where we get a ton of rain sometimes, that soil tends to slough off and you have to place it back on and then water it and figure out how to make it work and then mulch on top. So that's just a personal preference of mine. So it will take years for the boxwoods to fill in, but it's worth it, I promise you. How many years it takes will depend on how quickly the variety of boxwood that you picked grows, how close together you place the boxwoods, and the growing conditions. I imagine that mine will take about 3 to 5 years to fill in. I plan to water them regularly and nurture them. I am the person that's like out in my garden all the time, and I hope that by me taking care of them very closely and very tenderly, that they will be healthy and happy and will grow for me and fill in the next few years. And that's the thing about gardening, guys, is, you see these big, beautiful estate gardens and things like that, and you wish that you had an established garden that way. At least if you're in my boat where you have a house that needs a lot of work, that's how you feel. But that's what gardening is. It's patience. It's tenderly caring for something for years to see how beautiful it looks in 5 or 10 years. My particular home I purchased in 2017. If you follow my channel, you know that the house really wasn't that well taken care of. It wasn't updated as far as the landscaping. It was overgrown. I basically pulled everything out and had to start fresh, and it was pretty ugly. That's what got me into gardening, though. I didn't know anything about gardening. Gardening was just the means to achieve that curb appeal that I wanted for my first house. And then I discovered that I like gardening. So I have projects like these that are going on all over my property. I'm putting in new garden beds. I'm experimenting with plants. I'm putting in hedges and installing garden arches and figuring out what kind of edging works for me. And so if you're interested in that kind of thing, or you just want to see my journey, feel free to subscribe to my channel. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you. Bye. Hey guys, so I just ordered 5 Boxwoods from Hertz Gardens online, and I just want to comment on how neatly packed these are and like how well packaged they are, because they came with like a bubble wrap on top of all of this that I've since put in the trash can, so it's not here now. But look, look at this. And they look healthy. Look at that new growth. You can tell that's new growth. And if you don't know anything about Hertz, they sell small plants, but they're in good shape. Yeah, I mean, look at this. They're pretty good looking considering they just got transported. A little bit of brown here. That's quite normal. So that's why I bought these. I had already purchased 11 and it wasn't enough for that area. So these are going to make up for the difference in the space that I needed. All right, bye.